Hey everybody. Today's podcast is sponsored by Naked Actives. They are an awesome skincare brand. They are a vegan friendly brand as well as they are tested on humans, not animals. They're all the things you could want in a skincare brand. If you go on the website nakedactives.com, they have a skin quiz to see how much you actually know about your skin and quizzing you on different products that are in the skincare routine, as well as what you should do during your skincare routine. They have all the ingredients and the products listed on their website, as well as many different serums that have so many benefits to renewing your skin, repairing your skin, and hydrating your skin. Go check them out. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Daily Dose podcast. Today we have on Corey Payne. He's my current mentor, and he's working for. He's a consultant of the ProctorGallagherInstitute. Welcome, Corey. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's going on? It is so amazing to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a good day.
Awesome. Well, first, let's tell everyone a little bit about yourself. What do you currently do? If you want to give a little bit of information on that.
Yeah, currently I am a consultant with PGI, which is Bob Proctor's legacy. He's been helping people and really the grandfather or godfather of personal development. He's been helping people expand their human potential for the past 60 years. Whatever you want in life, you can become. And I know some people may grow up saying, you know what, that's a bunch of hogwash. there's no way that can happen. But I can assure you, it is real, it's a science, and I'm a direct evidence and reflection of that material and thinking. And he always says is that, tell me what you want, and I'll help you get it.
I can definitely tell you that's true. I mean, from where I look back and all the results Corey was saying when we first met, looking where I'm at now, you just seemed like it was out of my life, and now I'm about 8 to 9 months down the road, and I'm in a place I never thought I would be. So along your journey, what did that kind of look like for you? Did you know that you wanted to do something, or what was it that kind of got you to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ryan. Where I came from and how I grew up, I'm not supposed to be sitting here in front of you. I'm not supposed to be wearing clothing like this in front of you. Now, whatever someone wears, there's no right or wrong. It is what it is. Our thinking makes it so. But growing up in government housing, I love my mom, bless her. She did the best that she could. I had a sister and really grew up on powdered milk. Food stamps, whatever the case may be, she did her best. She worked several jobs, but there was a lack of abundant thinking there. So let's really fast forward a few years and the story comes to mind, if it's okay if I share with you.
Mm.
I'm about probably 9, and I'm on the other side of the projects where mom told me not to go. But as a kid, I want to know why can't I go? So I go, and it's past curfew. The sun goes down, and I'm still out there playing with all the boys because they're a lot cooler than the boys that were in my part of town. We're all hanging out, and there's all the smells of the cigarettes, the alcohol, and the weed, or whatever the case may be. I wasn't doing any of it, but I definitely was accustomed to the smells. So everyone's playing. It's probably maybe 20 to 30 people playing dominoes, riding their bikes. And all of a sudden, everyone goes silent. And then my heart starts going, I'm a kid, so I don't know really what's going on. I feel like I'm going to pee myself, and I don't know why. And then I hear someone goes, whose mom is that? And I automatically knew it had to be my mom. I don't know how she found me because I was about a 20-minute walk from the building, but she found me. And I turned around, I hid behind somebody and I turned around and you can see my mom walking down the street in the house coat, the rollers, and the bedroom slippers. Now, this means mom's pissed because she does not leave the house in the slippers and she would never leave the house in her rollers. So I just know that I'm going to get a licking when I get home. So I walk down and she says, Corey, in her accent, her Trinidadian accent. So I come out and she's probably about a few feet from me, but I can assure you, Ryan, it felt like an eternity, the walk of shame, because everyone is saying and everything, and I'm so embarrassed. So she grabs my hand and we start walking back home. And from that moment there, I was so emotionally involved with anger, saying to her that you are never, ever going to tell me what to do again. I hate you. And I held on to that experience for the majority of my life, for decades, not noting that she was doing just the best that she can. She came there to protect me because I was with some people who were doing drugs. But that anger and that, I was so emotionally involved with it, and it really had me lead down a path of really looking towards anger and looking at the worst of things, looking at the negative side of everything.
Yeah. So where did that kind of lead you along the way to where you are now? Because I know we've talked before and you went through different experiences with jobs and different interests. So what kind of led you to the place you are now after all of these events, like the different jobs? What led you to this spot?
Yeah. So a young man holding on to that type of anger for years, I'm always looking to do something to somebody. The world owes me something. I have a chip on my shoulder, literally. I have a chip on my shoulder. You step on my shoes, I'm gonna do something to you. So this led from job to job to job. I was always good at what I did, but I never really felt fulfilled. I had a job for maybe a few years, a couple months, and then I would find a new job. And it came to the point where I was working two jobs, a corporate job, and I was working factory work at the same time. So at this time, I worked probably about a 10-hour shift. And I'm on my way home. I pull up to the street light and I got a handkerchief on my head because I was sweating. And I sit there at the light and I look to my left and there's a guy in the same model as me, just a different color. And I could tell it was his car from what was hanging from inside and what I could see inside the car. He's wearing a suit and a tie and he's laughing from ear to ear. He has a huge grin on his face. He's having a phenomenal time. And I'm looking at him and I'm saying, what the? I don't get it. What is he doing different than I'm doing? Because we're obviously think alike because we have the same type of car, same model, same year, but he's having a blast. So I end up going home and my wife, my partner at the time, she goes, how's your day? And I go, it was okay. And she looks at me and Ryan, I broke down in tears. I dropped to the floor and I started crying like it was Armageddon. There was snot coming up my nose. I was saying to her, I don't understand, hon. Why are things so hard for me? I'm doing my best. I'm working so hard and I'm not getting anywhere. And I told her about the guy and she said, okay, go to the living room. And I'm like, I didn't even change it. She goes, go to the living room. So she goes upstairs and she comes down with this DVD. So I had two questions for her. The first question was, where did you get this from? Because no one watches DVDs anymore. And second, how are we gonna watch it? We don't even have a DVD player. So she goes, hold on. So she goes in the garage and she pulls out this little mini DVD player and she plays it. And the movie is called The Secret. Now, please understand that before watching this movie or hearing these type of ideas were just not something I was accustomed to. To have the idea that you can think things into existence, that your thoughts become things, that you don't have to lead or have experience with something in order to have phenomenal results, that was unheard of for me. So I watched the movie over and over, took notes over and over, and something resonated with me. So then I tried it out. I was like, okay, well, I have nothing to lose. Let me try this out. I applied the techniques that they said in the movie, and it started actually happening for me. I started getting free things here. I was able to land a job with no experience. And it actually started working. So this is one piece of the process, but I was applying it and it was opening up my mind that I can be, do, and have whatever I want.
That's something that I'm experiencing now. That point where your logical brain says this isn't possible, but you know that it relates to you, so you keep doing it. The next question I kind of had goes off of what you were just talking about. So with that intention that you put out there that you wanted to do different and you started to focus on this DVD and take notes, how do you think, well, what do you think led you to going from that DVD to actually working with Bob, which is, he was a part of that movie? Is there something that you can kind of relate that to? Because I know what I learned and what you've taught, that there is something that shows clearly why that happened. But for everyone out here that kind of says, I want to do this, is there something that you can say relates to why you watched the movie and now you work with Bob and before he passed?
Absolutely. You become what you think about most of the time. Now, this is a saying that I heard Earl Nightingale, one of Bob's mentors, state so many times. When Bob was with us, he would go over this over and over again. You become what you think about most of the time. So as I watched that movie, and I kept watching it day after day on the weekends, I stopped watching TV and I was just focusing on this DVD. Whatever books it said to get in it, I started really just going over. I was emotionally involved with what I wanted. They said, list all your wants, and that was unheard of for me. You don't list all your wants because that's too far-fetched. And to answer your question, I was committed to having what I want. Now, what does that really mean? Well, a person can either be interested or they can be committed. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
So what is really interested? Interested is doing what you can, when it's convenient. Well, committed is doing whatever it takes and only accepting results and not even going towards excuses. Excuses are not even part of the game. So I was committed to having what I want.
That is a very good point, because a lot of people might see that. I mean, you're a direct example of this, that what you really put your mind to is what you're going to get. And there are going to be ups and downs along the path, no matter what, for everyone. But as you continue to focus on it, you will get those results. Was there anything along the path that, because it's going to be a bumpy road, but was there anything of note significantly that you can look back on and say that was something that I had to get through, that was a bump in the road that was very significant to getting to where you are? Because everyone will come across that.
Of course. And we're going to go right back to what we stated before about commitment. When you're committed towards something, it doesn't matter what gets in your way. For example, if a person has to pick up their child at school and the child can't take an Uber, let's say the child is 9, and a snowstorm ends up happening. That mom or dad or aunt or uncle, whoever the caregiver is not going to say, you know what, I'm going to leave the house when I feel like it. They're committed to picking up that child. They're going to do whatever it takes to make sure they get there.
Mhm.
They're not going to accept excuses. Well, someone may say, well, yeah, but that's your kid. Well, parents make a commitment to children. Were there bumps in the road? Absolutely. Absolutely. But everything happens for you. And that's something that I actually had to seep into my own subconscious thinking, which creates someone's habits, that everything happens for me. So if that snowstorm comes, that snowstorm was there to help me, to possibly strengthen my persistence. And when you gear that towards something that you want, ain't nothing gonna stop you. Because I'm sure there were things that you can think of right now that you've always really wanted, let that be as a kid or as an adult, that no matter, you would have done whatever it took to get there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there's and for how you were saying about being committed and no matter what comes up in the way, we weren't necessarily taught that that's what's going to happen, because in our society we've been underlyingly taught that if you fail, you lose, or if you fail, that you need to stop. So what you said about continuing to be consistent, persistent, and committed, and no matter what happens, it happens for you, that's very important, that we aren't necessarily told that. um are there anything that you repeat to yourself or tell yourself that aligns with this mindset that you have to continue to keep moving forward? Because for some people, it seems hard to move forward and through those situations. Is there anything that you keep in your mind that you could share, like an affirmation or something, to help people understand that it is okay in those situations where they might fail or where they will fail?
That's a great question. And failure itself is part of the journey. There's something that my family here that we go over and over again, something with my little girl, and I love her. So whenever something doesn't work out for her, and she's like, oh, it didn't work. Well, you failed, and that's okay. Because what is fail? First attempt in learning. It's part of the process. A rocket itself fails its way towards the moon. 98% of the time, or 97 to 98% of the time, it's off course. It course corrects all the time. And to answer your question, Ryan, yes, there is something that I go over continuously to ensure that I don't allow failure to inhibit my progress. And that is to have a goal.
Mm.
To have a goal that you fall in love with. To go after something that is bigger than you. To do something day in and out that's going to get your ass out of bed. Because someone or something without a goal is just going to keep just drifting. And that's fine. You asked, what was it, something that I go over? Well, it's my goal.
That's
Something that I would die for, something that's bigger than me.
that's very important, especially for me. I've noticed throughout this program, I was always I always had things I wanted, but I always was wondering why I'm not committed to them. And once I wrote it down as a goal and I had it clearly mapped out, it's that path. You see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you just keep going because it keeps pulling you there. Without that goal written down or focused on, you start to weave in and out, and you get lost. Over time, do you have anything that you attribute to forming a goal? Because some people might say it's difficult for them to know what they really want. Is there anything that you use yourself to form your goals or form what you want?
Yeah, of course. There's a proven process to everything that we're talking about. And I'll take full credit of it for it because it's not mine. It's something that's been passed down. It's a science. Everyone that has all the things that they desire, it's all based off of science. We are really having a human experience. Life itself is meant to be full of joy. What is life? Living in fantastic experiences. Life is meant to be phenomenal. You mentioned something earlier that really resonated with me. And when it comes to knowing what you want, as a young child, I know that I may have been programmed or had my environment that you can't have what you want. Don't shoot so big that you may miss. Don't shoot for the stars, because what if you miss? Well, when you shoot for something big, it pulls you. You move towards it, and it moves towards you.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a perfect universe. It's been around for what, 30 billion years? I think it knows what it's doing.
Yeah, that was something that you told me too, that kind of put it into perspective. When you see things happen, it really is kind of so small that puts it into such a big perspective, that it always knows what it's doing to equal out that balance. And that ties back to what you were thinking about and getting involved with that movie. And now you're where you are now, being involved with exactly that material, what you aligned with. So that kind of relates to the goal and what you want. Whatever you want to do is what you can achieve. And you've taught me that through everything. So what is something that you are that you are interested in, and you can form that interest into a desire and a goal? Because I know a lot of people just think that they're interested, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they can be successful. So what do you kind of do that you turn your interests into a goal in reality? Is there anything that you kind of do, or is it just forming a goal?
Well, yeah, there's many things, but first and foremost, whatever you want wants you. Well, what does that mean? Well, if it's a car, if it's a trip, if it's that girl, or if it's that guy, if it's those shoes, if it's that vacation, whatever you want wants you. Well, we got to first fantasize about it. Document what you want. Be committed that you are going to go there no matter what. And then fantasize about it. So we've been taught, well, I know I've been taught growing up, when you get into school or you're not paying attention, stop daydreaming. Pay attention. Why aren't you listening to me? Well, we've been really taught to stop the imagination, be realistic. Well, reality, being realistic, is one of the things that keeps someone from moving forward towards a goal. Because we all know of people who fulfill their fantasies. What do you mean? Well, the Oprahs, the Jay-Z's, the Kanye's, the Jim Carrey's, the Sylvester Stallone's, the Arnold Schwarzeneggers. When he was working out, the Mr. Olympia, when you're telling the world, I'm going to be governor, and I'm going to be in the government, people laughed at him. But that was something that he fantasized about. He had a goal and he was committed towards it. Nothing can stop you when you commit yourself to something. Because when you don't allow outside circumstances to determine how you are going to move forward, nothing can get in your way unless that person adheres to that circumstance, which is fine. But I can assure you that Arnold didn't let anything stop him from doing what he wanted.
And a lot of the getting into the course and everything with you, everything seems so complicated. We've been taught that everything is so complicated when it really is simple. A lot of things are very simple and very simplified, and we've been taught that it's so much bigger than what we think it is. But these people that like Arnold and Jay-Z and Oprah, they stick to what they know, and just like how you got from the movie to where you are now, it works exactly the same way. They knew what they wanted, and it wants you and you want it. So that a lot of the stuff that you've been saying could be very, very helpful for people that might feel a little bit lost or might feel like they don't know what they need, but you do know what you want and you can get there forever. It's never out of your reach. One thing that resonates with me is don't let somebody steal your dream. Has there ever been something in your life that you felt like, oh, you know what? I think I need to do this because of someone else, because I know that we're taught a lot of the time to listen to what other people say for us. Has that happened to you before?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love what you said there. Don't let someone steal your dream. Whatever you want in life, somebody else cannot see it for you. And when it comes down to it, you don't need anyone to help you get there. Now, once you make the decision to go there, you're going to attract to you and you're going to figure out things on the way. Just like how a rocket failed its way to the moon, you're going to fail your way to your goal if you're committed. So when it really comes down to it, to answer your question, absolutely. There was something that I really wanted to do when it came to me leaving the corporate world. I really wanted to become a photographer. And at the time, you know, I'm earning good money at that time. I'm earning good money, you know, having a desk. And for me, just to pick up and quit my job to become a freelance photographer, who does that? And the thing is, I learned from this, sharing your goal with somebody who doesn't see you already there having it accomplished is not going to see it for you. Now, those people that you're referring to, some of them could be spouses, some of them could be the best friend, brother or sister, a parent, a cousin, someone who is really close to you that you may believe, you know what, this person's gonna have my back no matter what. And when you mention it to them or share it with them and they don't have the same enthusiasm that you do, and when you allow yourself to move backwards, that's when you are giving someone your power. So exactly what you said, don't let someone steal your dream because it's yours. Nobody can see it or do it for you. Now, when it comes down to it, and this is something that we've discussed before, a goal is not to get, a goal is meant to really help you grow. So for some of those who may not be familiar with your journey, I would love just for you just to share a little bit about how your growth has been since you actually really started going for what you want, shooting for those stars and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, when you start to go for what you want, everything falls into place. And just like what you think about, you start to see the more you think about it, the more it starts to come to you. And a lot of things my acting coach says, how I had a monologue actually. My monologue says, follow your passions and the rest will take care of itself at the very end, as a motivational speaker. And that truly is the truth. I mean, when you start to think about and focus on and write down your goals and what you want, you it comes to you, and you keep going to it. The YouTube channel, the acting, having an acting agent, it all is something that felt surreal back when I started with you about 8 to 9 months ago. So anyone in any place can do anything, and no circumstance holds you back. And clearly you are a very the product of that as well. And anyone can be the same because we all have that capability. Is there anything as we wrap up here that you want to say, or want to leave anyone watching this, or that you would give a little bit of advice to, or say a last thing before we head off?
Of course, your experience here on earth is yours and yours alone. Nobody can make you happy except yourself. When you go for after what you want, you wake up every single day fulfilled. Because life is a phenomenal experience. Every day when I wake up out of bed, I feel full of joy. Now, that's a choice. Some may say, well, that's easy. Well, it's a choice. And then it becomes a habit. There are people that live through things worse off than I've ever lived in. The Holocaust, being in prison, being in places where there's extreme war. Their outside circumstances, so things around them were horrible. Diet, death, drugs, whatever the case may be. But they lived through it. Well, why? Because they didn't allow their outside circumstances to determine how they were inside. There was something phenomenal about every single person here on this earth. If you knew what you were capable of, you'd wake up every morning and you'd kiss yourself.
Great way to end it. Giving yourself that appreciation, love, and continuing to go on the journey of yourself and what makes you happy, it brings out the best in you and everyone around you. So I do really thank you for coming on, Corey. This has been awesome, and I look forward to having you back again.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Everyone, do what you love, no matter what that is. Do what you love, and you'll live a phenomenal life.
That's great advice. All right. Well, that's a great way to end it. Thank you very much, Corey.
Thanks.
Bye.